Shohei Ohtani as a leadoff hitter is looking real good. Should the Dodgers maybe think of keeping him even when Mookie comes back? And we'll get into Tyler Glasnow, the bottom of the order, and the City Connect uniform on field. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. Find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and being notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube, like I am right now. If this is your first time listening or watching, my name is Vince Samperio, usually joined by co-host Jeff Snyder, but Jeff is his voice has once again eluded him and he cannot speak. So I'm here speaking. Jeff is behind the scenes in the comments and pushing all the buttons to make this episode go. So we're still working together. We're still here. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have covered the team for about a decade now in a few different roles. We've been doing this podcast here for half that decade. We've been talking about the Dodgers on our own podcast a little bit longer than that. So we have talked a lot about the Dodgers. We've seen a lot of Dodger games. We've been to a lot of Dodger games, and we're going to continue to do all that. And we're going to continue on right now because the Dodgers were off on Sunday, a weird Sunday off. When they don't play, when it's not the AL West's turn to play the NL West, the Dodgers only have 4 games with the Angels now with the new schedule instead of the normal 6 they used to have. So it's a 2-2. And they get a Sunday off. They've had a Sunday off, I think, the last 2 years now. And not as fun, but either way, the Dodgers split the series against the Angels over the weekend. But the big story, of course, is Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani homered in both of those games on Friday and on Saturday. Both home runs going over 450 feet. I think I saw a stat that he went back-to-back nights with 450-foot or plus home runs at Dodger Stadium, and I think the stat I read was that no one else even has 450 plus feet home runs. I don't remember if it was in a season or a career, but either way, we know Ohtani can hit the ball a long way, and he's been doing that ever since he moved into leadoff spot, which is what we're going to talk about. Friday's game was interesting because everyone else, except not named Shohei Ohtani, only had 1 hit, and it was not the reverse version, but just the Dodger version of the tungsten arm oil tweets of yesteryear with the Angels when Ohtani does a bunch of stuff and then the Angels still lost. Same thing with Ohtani, had like multiple hits, multiple walks, blah, blah stuff, and then the Dodgers lost. But again, this time, instead of him still being in 4th or 5th place, the division lead went from 9 games to 8 games and now currently sits at 9.5 because the Dodgers won on Saturday. And then every other team behind them lost on Sunday when they were Shohei Ohtani, albeit being in Colorado and against the Angels, but still he wasn't hitting against worse teams before that. Ohtani in those 6 games is hitting .458 with an OPS of 1.65. 3 doubles, 4 homers, 11 RBI, 8 runs scored. I mean, what more could you ask for out of the leadoff hitter? A little bit more than you can ask for in traditional leadoff hitters because he's bringing that power. And I do think that we had kind of been talking about Ohtani maybe being ready to break out from the little mini slump he had since, kind of ever since he really got hit in the hamstring with the baseball a few weeks ago. And I can't say for sure it coincides with that or if him being the leadoff spot gave him a little boost or like I said, a matter of fun to watch Ohtani this week. I mean, he's hitting the ball hard as normal, but just really sitting back and crushing baseballs. None of the home runs. He had one, 476 in Colorado, 450 plus here in LA. And, not just doing it like that, but, the doubles I mentioned, a few other hits here and there, scoring runs, all that type of stuff. So the question kind of instantly becomes, Otani's going to be in this spot for a while. Mookie Betts is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks at the very least. So we're going to see Ohtani in this spot until August, realistically. But it's one of those where it's a matter of where we go from here. And if Ohtani continues to hit this way, definitely a conversation needs to be had about, okay, should Kenny and Freeman, obviously not moving Mookie out of the leadoff spot in that junction, but it was one of those things where he just wanted to go and see what happened, and we go from there with the new top of the order, where they are breaking up the lefties with the right-handed bat, and it makes a lot of sense, and it does kind of lengthen the lineup in a different way. It splits up those ones. Even with Will Smith struggling a little bit, it was kind of working out because you get those guys kind of moving out from left to right and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's way too early to say Shohei Ohtani should be the leadoff hitter, but it is not too early to say that he performed well the first week. If he continues to perform well, then yeah, we know Mookie Betts can or likes to play out of the leadoff role, but it's just a matter of how we go about it and how we go through that. So we'll see what happens. I see the comments on the internet. There's bad Wi-Fi in this area right here, especially on Sunday nights for whatever reason, and can't do much about it right now. But hopefully we can get through this episode. It'll pick up and we can move on from there. But yeah, all in all, Ohtani is looking good at the leadoff spot, and I do think that the Dodgers would consider him staying there if this continues on through the 2 months that Mookie Betts is out and we have the lineup moving forward. So there was a lot to like from the rest of the weekend. Other than that, I believe he probably would have went deeper into the game had they not taken him out early. Like he had just pitched earlier in the week. He didn't go his full. He didn't go his full 90 plus pitches or whatever, but he had pitched earlier in the week, so I do think that's why they took him out a little bit early. Ryan Yarbrough uncharacteristically struggled with command, and I think it was one of those the Dodgers needed him to get at least those 2 innings, so they kind of had to keep him in. And even though he was struggling and was hitting a lot of batters and all that type of stuff, I know there was some conversations about that, but I think that was just a matter of, hey, this is a little bit of a tough spot for us. We need to get through this game, and that's just the way it's going to go. And hopefully our offense can put up runs, but the offense, unfortunately, did not put up those runs once Ohtani had hit the homer. So it sometimes it goes that way. It sucks losing to the Angels, especially when Ohtani does hit a home run and everything else that's going on. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. But we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the bottom of the order, who had a really good week. Some guys are starting to heat up. Some guys have been heating up for a little while now, and it could be, obviously beneficial for the Dodgers, but it could kind of make them reconsider what they do at the deadline just a little bit, in sense of not having to go after one certain position, but maybe having to just acquire one bat in general and then kind of figuring out the rest of the positions. So that's what we're going to get into next. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports, and I love them so much that I don't ever really want them to stop. But as playoffs for the other sports wind down, we get fewer games, which is stage. We have the Olympics this summer, so you can still get your sports fix on, but FanDuel is there to help you keep the sports going whenever you want, because all you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. Check out FanDuel right now. The Dodgers are playing the White Sox this week. I'm sure they'll be heavy favorites throughout those games. But Garrett Crochet is on the mound on Monday. I would say he's probably going to strike out some Dodgers. So maybe you put a little bit down on Crochet striking some guys out, and then you put the Dodgers down to win, and then you kind of hedge that bet with the Dodgers probably being heavy favorites. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockdown and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. It's very easy. You go on the PrizePicks app and it'll give you a player and it'll give you a stat and it'll give you more or less. You pick more or less on 2 different player stat projections and you can start going from there. Or you can go all the way up to 6 players and obviously, win a little bit more if you happen to get all 6 right. So get in on the daily action and become a part of the PrizePicks community. Had you put, I'm sure Shohei Ohtani, more or less 0.5 home runs was up there most of the week, and probably here this coming week will also do so. So if you feel like Leadoff Ohtani is going to continue that, you can always go that route. But the other route is that there is a thing called hits plus runs plus RBIs, and usually you can get players at 1.5. You might get a demon at 2.5, and if Ohtani does hit a home run, you get the 2.5, that's covered in just that one hit. So go check out PrizePicks, go check out all that. You pick more or less, get your player projections, and you can right now get a first deposit match up to $100 when you download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Well, thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can text directly with us. You can get any updates that we have once the Dodgers announce it or once there's rumors, and you can ask us any questions or comments that you may have about the Dodgers and stay connected that way. So that's joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. All right, let's talk about the bottom of the order. There was a tweet. Good thing we have good friends in the Dodger Twitter world. Eric Steven put that the Dodgers 7, 8, 9 hitters this week hit 333 with an OPS over 900. And then Dave Roberts had said to get those guys at the bottom collectively, it just makes our offense tough to navigate in. And this is what we had talked about a lot with when the offense was struggling, was that the Dodgers top of the order for the most part was going to be good. Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, and Teoscar were all going to be good for the most part, but you really needed it from the bottom of the order. When Max Muncy went out, that obviously made the bottom of the order almost half the order because it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, where you weren't sure exactly what you were going to get from those spots in the order. And while I don't think that it's all fixed and cured, like I don't know if Chris Taylor is going to continue hitting this way. While I don't know, we see a comment here for Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux did homer. Is that power going to continue? Does he feel more comfortable? We've been waiting on that Gavin Lux breakout for a while now, and it hasn't quite happened. But, he doesn't need to be superstar. He just needs to be really good. Jeff mentions here Kevin Biggio even had a couple hits. And, there was a comment or a thing Dave Roberts said that they were working with him to be more aggressive. I know there's been a lot of talk about him not swinging the bat enough and, maybe striking out looking too much. And yeah, if he can it seems to be that when he does swing the bat for the Dodgers, he's had relatively good success. The problem is that he doesn't swing the bat that often. So he's another guy with him. Muncy got placed on the 60-day IL. He's not going to come back to at least after the All-Star break now. Kevin Biggio and Keegan Hernandez are going to be the third basemen unless the Dodgers make a move, before the deadline. And then you have, Rojas going to hold down short for the most part. So that bottom of the order is going to be tough. But Andy Pages, we've talked about him last week. He's continued to look really good. He did get robbed over the weekend against Angels, Taylor Ward, but he also picked up a hit and an RBI later in that game. He's been really, really good for a few more weeks now. So it's been, the roller coaster of he was really, really good the first few weeks, and then he was really bad for a few weeks. Now he's really good again. So, if he can remain that, the Dodgers can think about not having to trade for like two bats. You only really need to trade for maybe one bat. And that's if you expect Muncy to be back, and that's, obviously knowing that Mookie's going to come back, and you might have a little bit of a dip there in July and August, but September coming back, that the Dodgers are going to get, Max Muncy and Mookie Betts back at some point, and the offense is going to get that much better. So, yeah, BC has a comment here about the top 5 batters. Yeah, overall, collectively on the season, everyone is still not great, but we're not talking about like the whole season doesn't matter when you're in the moment. And right now, this last week, their last week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it is, the bottom of the order has been better. Andy Pages has been better. Chris Taylor has been better. Gavin Lux has been about the same, but but that's you don't need 1 through 9 on hitting, but you need at least 6, 7 guys to be hitting somewhat consistently. And that's what the Dodgers were missing. Jason Hayward's come back from injury, and he's had a couple big home runs and a couple of other stuff and contributing to the offense. And I think that's really what you're looking for, is somewhat consistency in the sense of contributing. Now, Kenny mentioned Kike and looking bad. And yeah, Kike has looked rough. Kike got put into pinch hit situation, or I don't remember pinch hit, but he hit at one point late in the game and struck out. Oh, in the extra inning game and struck out. And it hasn't been good for him. And I do think that he's going to just keep playing for now. Like, and I doubt, unless he's hurt, and they have to make another move, I don't think they're going to do anything else. Kevin Biggio is going to play majority of the time anyways, because he's going to play against right-handed pitching, and most of the starters are right-handed. So at the very least that, and if he can, just give us mediocre, average production, 90 to 100 OPS is not a lot to ask for, and realistically, that's all they really need from the bottom of the order, especially if Ohtani's hitting this way. Will Smith picks it back up. Freddie Freeman's going the way he's been going, and then Teoscar. Like, you just have to hope that these guys are going to do it. And all this to say is that the Dodgers shouldn't stop looking, even if these guys continue to hit very, very well, because the Dodgers still need to make at least one offensive upgrade, whether it's an outfielder, whether it's an infielder, whatever the case is, you need one more bat. And there's always going to be talk about shortstop specifically, but I don't think they need to get specifically a shortstop. I think an infielder or an outfielder, whether that infielder plays shortstop or not, unfortunately, if it's not a shortstop for sure, it could be a stopgap at third base. But then when Muncy comes back, like, someone's going to have to play second base. And, realistically, if Lux isn't hitting by then Lux will be out of the lineup. So they're still going to continue looking, but that's going to be at least a month away. Like, realistically, in the National League, there's only 2 teams that are really out of it. And in the American League, there's only a couple more teams than that are really out of it. So we don't really know which teams are going to buy, which teams are going to sell. So you're going to have to continue on with this lineup for the rest of the way. And that's why you hope guys like Chris Taylor can keep hitting. That's why you hope guys like, Gavin Lux can continue that slow. I think I saw here somebody's on a slow, gradual climb upward. Like, it's very slow. And we've talked about it a lot. And every time he gets a little bit going, he kind of gets back to where he's at. And I think the big point, when Roberts talked about it after the 150 at bat mark, was just too many empty at bats. And I think that's the thing with Lux. Like, there's sometimes he goes up there and he's not giving you anything at all. And there's sometimes he goes up there and he has good at bats, and he gets, even if it doesn't end in a hit, there's a threat of a hit. And there's sometimes where he's just not a threat at all. So we'll obviously continue monitoring the bottom of the lineup, but if Andy Pages can continue going, that at least gives you those 6 hitters again, or 6 hitters again at the top of the order without Mookie, and then you kind of wait for Mookie and Muncy to come back and see how things go. So it's a work in progress. There's not going to be much to change right now, but And one guy actually didn't mention that I see right now is Miguel Vargas, and he's been better, or he's been good since coming up. He's been hitting well in his spots, but unfortunately those spots are few and far between, and we don't really know if he's hitting well because he is getting put in spots that against left-handed pitching where he has a better chance of success, or if he's a better overall hitter. And I do expect them to maybe try and figure out if that's the case, if he can be a good hitter overall, or if he's just a good hitter in the situation that he's in. Because if he is a good hitter overall, the Dodgers will have to decide then at that point, do we go with the defense that's not so great in the outfield, but he's hitting? And then you have Teoscar and Pajes and Vargas as your outfield before you make any other trade. So we'll see what they do there. But, that's kind of the options they have, and that's what we're going to go with. So, one of the big reasons Dodgers won on Saturday was Tyler Glasnow. We're going to talk about him, and one of the things Tyler Glasnow was wearing on Saturday was a New City Kayak uniform. How did it look in person? Well, not in person, but at the game. We're going to talk about it, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. If you are not an everydayer, that is someone that listens or watches every day, you can become one by listening or watching every day. You can also subscribe and get notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are right now. And remember, if you're already on YouTube, you can check out Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world all day, all night. That's where you can find the Locked On Dodgers postcast with host Pete Fox going live after almost every Dodger game on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and his audio will pop up on our Locked On Dodgers audio feed. Remember, go beyond the podcast, become Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. All right, let's finish up with Tyler Glasnow, who had a really, really good game on Saturday. He went 7 innings. He struck out 10, and he's continued to be, the overall dominant force. He's had a couple bad games here and there, but on the season, his ERA sitting at 2.88. He's up there. I think he's leading the league in strikeouts. If the Dodgers can keep Crochet off the board on Monday, then he'll continue leading the majors in strikeouts. And I think the big thing that stood out, obviously, on Saturday is that Glasnow did those 7 innings on just 74 pitches. And, the Dodgers did pull him. And realistically, could Glasnow have gone and maybe finished that game? Probably. But Dave Roberts talked about how they're going to kind of monitor his workload, not necessarily change anything up this second half of the season, but just monitor it a little bit more, whether that's, getting him out after 74 pitches, if he's already gone 6 or 7 innings, whether that's, continuing on with giving guys extra days or going to a 6-man rotation every so often, or whatever the case. There's different ways of handling that. Glasnow's already up over 100 innings on the season, I believe, and nearing his career high in innings pitched overall. So, and it's not a matter of, he's not a young guy that's never thrown. Like, it's not, there's differences between, Bobby Miller last year or other guys that have come up and were young guys. And, they've not used to throwing that much or that often or that, every 5th day or whatever the case is. Glasnow, while he has only thrown 120 innings overall, and that was last year when he threw his most innings, it's more so because of injury, not so because he's not built up and ready to go. And I don't think there's ever been an injury with with him that's been based on fatigue or anything like that. So it's just a matter of if he's healthy, he's been able to go every fifth day, and when he's not healthy, he's not able to go every fifth day, which sounds simple, but that's realistically what it comes down to. And you can say that about any pitcher, uh, and that's kind of how it is. Like if you're there's guys that are injury prone and have the same injuries, and that's Kershaw and his back, or anything connected to his back. That's been a recurring injury. That's been something that's hindered him for a while now. And then this last injury was shoulder, which not necessarily tied to any of that other stuff. So you just never know. With Glasnow, he talked about it. It seemed to be the same injury that just kind of lingered, didn't take care of it properly, and that's kind of what led to it. And I think now with Glasnow, you're obviously not going to let him go 9 innings and 120 pitches, but you're going to let him be the ace that he's shown to be so far this season. And you're going to give him that rope to go deeper into games when maybe he's struggling a little bit, and, maybe come out a little bit early from games when he's efficient, like he was on Saturday. And that's just, the nature of it. But the Dodgers by design don't have their pitchers pitch every fifth day for the most part. They're going, you know, they don't go 4 days off pitch. It's usually 5-6 days off then pitch. And even when they're down in depth like they are a little bit right now with Yamamoto hurt and, Kershaw coming back and Miller just came back, but Buehler went down, they're still not going to, push their guys if they don't need to. So, yeah, for Glasnow, I just think it's a matter of continuing on what he's been doing and looking really good while he's been doing it. And we talked a lot about Cy Young before the season started, and realistically, if he continues to pitch the way he's been pitching, he's definitely going to be up there in that conversation. So it's we'll see what happens. Obviously, you can't predict anything when it comes to pitching, and we've seen that the last few years with the Dodgers. And I did hear or see a few things about Landon Knack maybe showcasing on Friday for potential Dodgers trade. I don't think the Dodgers are going to trade anybody that can give them rotational depth right now, just because you don't know exactly what's going to become of Buehler. You don't know exactly what's going to become of Yamamoto. Kershaw, we'll talk about him real quick, that he had some soreness, and, he was originally scheduled for pitch for OKC. We're still waiting to see if that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, if the soreness went away. So, he might have a longer process to kind of figure things out anyway. So that's just the way things go. The Dodgers are built better off than most teams in the sense of having the depth to lose a few arms and still not be hurt by it. Last year was the closest they ever got to really being hurt by it. And it wasn't necessarily for lack of depth. It was just for a crazy amount of injuries. And even with all that, they got through the season, they won 100 games, and obviously it bit them in the postseason. And obviously that's the big concern, but the Dodgers can weather the storm in the regular season, figure it out. And if they know, hey, you know what, Kershaw might not come back, you know what, Yamamoto might not come back, or we're not sure, and Buehler might not figure it out, then the Dodgers can add a starting pitcher. If it's not already on their list for the deadline, they can definitely add it on there for that. So finishing up with the City Connect uniforms that the Dodgers wore. They wore them on Saturday, and we had seen them obviously get announced earlier in the week. We saw Jason Hayward and a couple other people at an event earlier in the day on Saturday, I believe, wearing them out. And yeah, I saw some tweets of people saying they're starting to grow on them. Some people saying that they still don't like them. I thought it was funny that Chris Taylor, in an interview with Dave Assay before the game, did call them the Funfetti uniform. So obviously the players are aware of what the uniforms look like or what people are saying about the uniforms. And they like I said before, you're not really going to see those flecks when you're watching on TV unless it's a close-up. You're definitely not really going to see them if you're at the game watching them, which is when they're going to wear them at home. I thought they looked okay. I thought they looked okay before, and I thought they looked okay on field. I do think they're just kind of plain to me. They don't necessarily attract too much attention, and yeah, they were just fine. I don't have a strong opinion about them. I thought they were going to look fine out there because they're just going to look like white uniforms, and that's pretty much what they look like. They look like white uniforms from afar. The numbers thing, that's just aesthetic that I'm not a fan of, like the number above on the front of the jersey, the cutoff numbers on the back of the jersey, the 0 in front of the single digit. Like, that's just all small aesthetic things that is a matter of your personal preference, but I do think they looked fine on the field. I do still think that the one concept that was out there, the Mookie Betts Photoshop with the jerseys that had the navy pants that matched the hat, I do think that was a better and cleaner look. And maybe that's something they will change. They changed the pants on the other uniforms after the first season. So, I don't know if they would do that for like change them to a pant color that they don't already have. But either way, people are probably going to end up just being okay with them. I don't know if the majority will ever all like them, but I do think they'll just kind of settle in and they'll wear them maybe once a week, once a homestand, whatever the case is, the rest of this year. And who knows? Maybe they'll get a third. They'll get a third City Connect next year, and continue to have one every year. I don't like in the NBA. These guys the teams are getting those statement uniforms or whatever. Whenever I think every year they almost get a new one. So maybe that's something that's going to come to MLB at some point. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, they weren't too bad. And when Tyler Glasnow, he can make a lot of things look good. And, he definitely made that uniform look good, especially the way he was pitching. Ohtani made it look good, hitting the ball 450 feet. So they're 1-0 in those uniforms. And if they continue to win when they are wearing those uniforms, and, maybe they'll become our favorite uniform. So who knows? We'll see. But, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for sticking around. Like I mentioned, sometimes the internet just doesn't go your way, and that's seemingly what happened here in the first half of the episode. Hopefully it picked up in the second half of the episode. Yeah, there you go. If they score 7 in the game, wear them every day. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. Bring the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Locked On Dodgers Postcast is on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles a channel after almost every Dodger game. And on our feed, you can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Yeah, where you can text with us and get updates and thoughts and rumors and stuff as they happen here as we get into July. So make sure to go join that. It's just a few bucks a month. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincents91. You can DM us for any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us when you get in your car. If you're at home, tear smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.